Hello, welcome to another episode from Tech Life Stories. I'm Khan Azmi, and today I'm joined on the podcast by Patrycja Sobera. Patrycja is currently the Global Vice President of Digital Workplace at Unisys. She is a ISG Digital Titan Award winner, a HDI thought leader and featured contributor. She is a massive cheerleader for customer experience, and she's a board member on DE&I. She also has certifications in ITIL, Prince 2, Six Sigma certified, and she has an honours and master's degree in modern languages. I think I've summed you up well, Patrycja. How are you today?
Good morning. Well, firstly, thank you for having me here. Great privilege to be here. I'm well. Absolute pleasure to have the conversation. Look forward to it.
Good. Is there anything on the summary there that I missed off that's worth mentioning before we continue in the podcast?
No, you absolutely covered everything. Thank you. It's always bizarre to hear, someone talk about you like this. Thank you. Many accolades and
Many
yeah, no,
accolades.
I absolutely appreciate the intro.
No, we'll probably touch on some of those accolades as we go on. But I always like to start the podcast by finding out how you got into technology. Was it a chosen path? Was it not? So I'd love to hear your story if you can share that with us.
Absolutely. Great question, by the way. I suspect, like many others, I never really sat down and planned my career. And I think the kind of falling into tech, I call it, it's probably to do with my background. So I actually have grown up in Poland in the 1980s, behind the Iron Curtain, so to speak.
Yeah.
And of course, that had both its challenges and huge limitations in terms of choices and opportunities. In fact, I was only able to learn Western languages like English and French, for example, when I was 15. Because of course before it was just Polish and Russian, and we didn't really have much choice back then. So for me, I took the path of studying modern languages to really be in a position to travel the world, to actually get out of Poland. And for a very short period of time, I was a French teacher.
Wow.
I then decided to travel and had an opportunity to join Compaq at the time. As part of their graduate scheme, and literally just fell from sort of languages into tech, into customer support. And the rest is history, as they say. And of
Okay.
course, goes without saying, absolutely fell in love with technology. It's not just falling into tech and sort of staying there, but really falling in love with tech, with everything that it brings, right? The
Yeah.
pace of change, that excitement about technology really being the spine of everything that we do, a spine of every organization.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I remember Compact. Not everyone probably does, but I do remember them. So was it a decision you made to actually apply for the grad scheme at Compact? So you did. So you knew you wanted. Well, did you know you wanted to go into kind of tech, or was you just applying for a job to
Do you
get
know
you out of
what?
French teaching?
Yeah, a little bit of both, actually. And it's funny, when you speak languages and when you've done some experience around customer support, customer experience, everyone's going to say, well, languages and customer experience, technology. And I was like, really? How does that even
Yeah.
equate? So there you go. And of course, as we know, these graduate schemes are a fantastic opportunity to really have a taste of everything,
Yeah.
and really see, what ultimately takes your fancy and where your passion is. And I think for me, really early on, technology really became, I think the best word is really the enabler.
Hmm.
The enabler of everything that we do, whether it's in our personal life, whether it's us as consumers, but also in terms of providing support and enabling business growth, enabling really that customer experience aspect as well. So it was a great opportunity to just really have a taste of everything, and then gradually, get a little bit deeper and a little bit more, um, uh, you know, develop a little bit more subject matter expertise in particular kind of technology aspect. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit because so you're inside Compact now. You're on the grad scheme. Are you doing? Is it one of these grad schemes where it's rotational? You're trying different departments, or are you starting on a service desk and going into that service matter area that you're talking about?
It was actually again a bit of both. So it was a little bit of a rotation with a fairly quick alignment of where majority of your skill set and kind of experience falls into. So it was a quick rotation followed by actually working in the global account support. Which really entailed both customer services, really understanding of the product, and a little bit of account management, I would say. So quite a quick rotation followed by a sort of more specific placement. Mhm.
Okay. And when did you realise that this is definitely the right career path for you?
That's a good question, actually. I think that graduate scheme was certainly an eye opener when it comes to working for a large global organization. With obviously a huge global presence, and not only a plethora of opportunities, but also different cultures. Like I think it's one of those melting
Mm,
pots of cultures and nationalities and countries we were supporting. So for someone who's quite young and is their first experience of working in the corporate world, particularly in that kind of line of technology, it actually was quite exciting. It was quite exciting to liaise with colleagues across the globe. It was really exciting to learn about technology, new products. Goodness me, at the time I think we were launching the iPad. This just shows my age, so
yeah.
let's not talk about that. But it was yeah no it was very quick succession of both the culture, the
Mhm.
organization, the kind of global structure, and ultimately what it is that we're doing for Compaq and its clients.
Okay, okay. And how long did you stay at Compact for at that time?
Couple of years
Yeah.
actually, yeah, a couple of years.
Okay.
It was fun times.
Fun times. Okay. So you took the decision to leave, and where did you move on to, and in what kind of capacity?
Yeah, I decided to move on to an organization called Getronics,
Hmm.
and it was related to actually relationship at the time and moving locations, so moving from Glasgow to Milton Keynes, actually in the UK, and that followed my 5-year journey with Getronics actually, which was working for quite a large client at the time. It was Cisco Systems actually. I then eventually in my 5-year journey, Edutronics led that account and led the global technical assistance center for Cisco, which again was a fantastic experience of both Edutronics as a large organization, but also a client of a prestige as Cisco, to really then deepen that love for technology.
Yeah. Okay. So can you elaborate a little bit for me? So you said you were leading the account. What does that involve exactly? What's involved day to day? In a role, at a large. I mean, they're an MSP, right?
Correct.
Managing a
Yes.
client like Cisco. So what's that involved day to day?
So leading support for the account, I should probably verify that and make sure we talk about the support aspect. So this was leading the entire team providing support to
Hmm.
Cisco's clients. So this meant the global contact center, the technical assistance center. We're talking 200 people providing global support to Cisco and their clients actually. What that entailed was, of course, people management, ultimately leadership of the kind of account governance from monthly service reviews, quarterly business reviews, really looking at that kind of innovation roadmap and where we were taking the account to, and ultimately just expanding the service as well. As of course Cisco were rather rapidly expanding
Hmm.
their kind of area of coverage in EMEA and beyond. So both kind of technical support, people leadership, but also that kind of account growth, and account expansion in terms of services we were delivering at the time.
And did you go to Getronic straight into that kind of leadership type role, or did you start at a lower role and work your way up?
Yes, so I spent 5 years at Getronics at the lower level role, and then leading up to actually
Yeah.
leading the account. So yeah, 5 year journey. It wasn't immediate, and I'm glad it wasn't, by the way, because I don't think I'd be doing a great job there straight away. So I had a lovely runway, and a ton of really good mentors and really good managers and leaders along the way.
I always like to find out from individuals who, one day you're working as part of a team and all of a sudden you've been promoted into a team leader or a supervisor or a manager role. How does that day look like? How do you change going from one to the other and getting the respect of your peers around you? What was that like at that time for you? Do you remember?
That is such a great question, and it's actually still one of my favorite interview questions when interviewing leaders coming into our organization. Sort of that, how is your day going to look like? You're gonna come in, get a cup of coffee, and then what? I love
Yeah.
this question. I think uh, gosh, there's so many facets and so many aspects of that transition from being a team member to a leader, and those initial traps that I think many of us initially fall in, and that real distinction between being a manager and a leader. I think for someone who's stepping into that kind of first leadership role, there is probably quite a few challenging moments of challenging times when you really define what is that sweet spot between being a manager doing all of those tasks that we have to do, whether it's performance management, merit planning, whether it's succession planning, and then ultimately leading a team of individuals to deliver to that common goal, to go extra and above, to exceed customer expectations, as such a fine balance. I think for me it was always around really leading by example and
Mhm.
really having that passion for the client, for the business they were in, and ultimately for what we as an organization from an MSP standpoint could contribute on that journey. And I think when you lead by example, when you kind of embody, I think ultimately those kind of goals, I think people tend to follow. I think the other obvious thing I'm going to say is uh, whatever leadership role you're in, you need to really take people on the journey with you, and it's
Mhm.
for me around really working together. You know, thinking about that, I don't know, proverbial bus of change, right? Really bringing people on that bus as opposed to saying, hey, here is what we're going to do, and not really have that conversation, or not really have that more consultative approach. So for me, it's doing things with people as opposed to doing things to people.
Yeah.
And it takes time, I think, in terms of becoming a leader, to fine tune that balance of actually having to take tough decisions, having to take quick, rapid decisions, versus really having that more transformational leadership approach where, like I said, you take people on the journey with you.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think if your team know the journey you want to go on, and it's transparent, it makes life a lot easier. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it'd be interesting to know though. Did you have people that didn't want to go on a journey with you? Did you have those challenges? Was you pushed then, or not really?
Yeah, of course. You always have a few naysayers, and perhaps, those tend to make things challenging for you. And I think that's needed. By the way, I absolutely love and welcome any challenge, because ultimately it really develops those additional skill sets you need as a leader. Not everything is amazing, particularly in the world of support. We never really hear from our clients how fantastic we are. It's usually when there's issues and challenges. If you think about that traditional services model, right? No one really calls the service desk to congratulate them on a job well done. Everyone
Yeah,
calls to report an issue. So it's the same thing. I think in people leadership there'll be challenges, there'll be questions such as why you, why not me? Questions such as what do you have that I don't have,
yeah,
and why should I listen? Considering yesterday we were peers, right? And um, again, I think it's a balance of being one of the team, leading by example, and then really taking people on that journey. But as always, you'll have those challenges, and those that will throw a few obstacles in your way, which I think again massively needed.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And look, we'll continue on your journey in a minute, but I think it'd be interesting to know because um, not everyone is cut out for management. I've spoken to many individuals who've tried it, didn't like it, went back into a technical type role. How did you know that management was the right career path for you? Like, at what point did it click to say, I don't necessarily need to be hands on the technical support side anymore. The the people management, the monthly service reviews, the succession plan, and all that type of stuff that a really good leader manager does. At what point did you know that that was for you?
Great question. I think there was probably a couple of defining moments. Number one was actually a transition from, at the time, it was a team leader role
Yeah.
to becoming an operations manager, and it was super interesting. Actually, it was a team. It was the team who approached me to say, "Hey, we think you need to propose this. We think you need to take over now." Um, and I kind of thought like, no, why me? And like, what's just give me a little bit more information. How did you guys come up to this conclusion? But it was an amazing situation where the team approaches you to actually say, hey, step up, we really need your support, we need someone strong to lead this, it's time to do something different here. I think that was probably the best kind of confirmation, and the best vote of confidence you can ever get as a leader, when actually your peer group approaches you to volunteer or put yourself forward for something that perhaps may not exist. And that role didn't exist, actually. It was a bit of a gap, in terms of how the account was structured. So having that, like I said, vote of confidence from the team makes you realize that actually, yeah, you probably are doing something right. So that was definitely a moment which sort of built up my confidence to think, okay, um, appreciate it. There's probably a long learning path ahead of me, but clearly that there is something others are seeing. So that's probably that. And then the second part, I would say, is later in the career, moving into more senior positions. I think for me, is ultimately having the accountability for the direction and the leadership. And we talked about innovation programs and roadmaps, and really having the ability to steer a large organization, a large group of people towards that common goal. I tend to take things, perhaps a little bit. I don't want to say in my control, because of course, again, you need a team of people behind you to achieve a goal. But I do like, having the ability to steer that ship towards that,
Yeah.
whatever objective we try to achieve. And I think, having to some extent, the control and the ability to influence the outcome by having those very deliberate, very, very direct, leadership, sort of methods, gives you that kind of, purpose, the ownership, and ultimately the passion for something you steer and you can drive and deliver. It also gives you a huge, risk of potentially falling as well, right? And not everything is a success. But I do like to take ownership. I don't shy away from decision making. And I think that was another,
Mm.
major thing for me. Really, rather than following, leading, just so I can steer, and manage things the way I thought was right for the client, for the organization, for the team.
Really good, really good. I'm smiling because there's a couple of things in there remind me of myself, and I will touch them in a minute. First of all, the accolade of your team putting you forward for a role which doesn't even exist. Oh my god, you must be so proud. If someone, if that happened to me, I'd be screaming about it from the rooftops. You need to mention that on your LinkedIn profile. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But something you touched on there, which resonated with me a little bit, because obviously I run my own business, so I'm an entrepreneur, and I would say I'm a risk taker. So when you said decision making, are some of the decisions,
Mm.
they are risks that you take, right? Sometimes, and they will make you or they can break you, and you need to be a certain type of individual to be able to make those decisions. And it says a lot about you and your character and your personality. How do you feel when you know that something could make or break you? What is that feeling inside of you at that time?
Great question. Great question. And I think these points in time when you face with taking a difficult decision are the kind of defining times in many cases. I do agree with you actually there. How do I feel? Excited and thrilled. I don't shy away from taking decisions which potentially, um, have the opportunity to kind of make you fail, right? I think that motto of try something, move forward, fail fast has always been a huge part of my career and my leadership style. Purely because if you look at the industry, if you look at the kind of memoirs of really famous people, they always talk about taking risks. They always talk about ultimately trying things out. The innovation is never born from standing still, right? And one of my favorite quotes is actually around the fact that electricity did not come from that continuous improvement of candles. It had to come through a very very different, very very innovative, decisive moment, right? So I love the thrill of the unknown. I genuinely get a lot of energy from the unknown, from what that decision is going to bring. Ultimately, you kind of want to be sort of at least 50% certain that something will work and succeed, so you can take again, the people, the team on that journey, right? In terms of having the confidence um, of hopefully going in the direction that's going to work, not fail. But that element of the unknown is equally as exciting as it is scary. And as a person, as a leader, I think that those scary moments really give us that not only ability to do it time and time again, because of course, as being a leader is a continuous journey of taking decisions, which of course will carry an element of risk. Um, but also, I think they really again give you the confidence, that the kind of the thrill, the passion for the unknown. I was actually listening to someone's podcast the other day. I think it was, I think it was Stephen Bartlett. I think it was one of the guests on Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of the CEO a podcast, and someone said that they actually do something scary every day
Hmm.
purely to get those kind of creative juices flowing. And
Yeah.
he gave a brilliant example, which really made me smile. And it was about walking into a coffee shop and asking for a 10% discount. And I thought, oh gosh, that's kind of like, how is that scary? How is this, how is this going to kind of get your creative juices flowing? And then I actually did this. And I tell you what, I stood there for like good 10 minutes. I left the coffee shop. I came back. I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. This is embarrassing. This is stupid. And my heart was racing. I thought, oh my God, I see what he means. Like, who does that? No one does that,
No one does
right?
it. We're
Like,
not institutionalized to do that.
right, exactly. And it was just such a powerful experience. And I thought, oh my God, I now see the point of actually, yeah, doing something scary every day, no matter how small
Yeah.
or big, and really conditioning your thinking, conditioning yourself to take those braver steps every day. But it really has to be a deliberate action of thinking, okay, how do I, get myself out of the sort of comfort zone, and how do I, continue to force myself to think differently and then act differently.
Yeah. Out of interest, did you get your 10% discount?
I did.
You
I
did.
did
There you
actually. It
go
was
then.
it was it was really funny. I think that the guy who was serving me was equally as surprised. Initially, he just said, "Well, you can just sign up to our card. When you obviously get 6 coffees, 70s free, and all that kind of stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, that's not what I'm asking for." And it was a bit of a back and forth conversation. And then yeah, he did actually take 10% off. So
Okay, well,
yeah.
you heard that from Stephen Bartlett. I've heard it from you. I'm going to try it the next time I go to a coffee shop and see how I get on and see what the feelings are like inside. Um,
I'd love to hear back after
I,
you've done it.
I
Yeah.
will definitely let you know. I mean, you referred to Stephen Bartlett, and listen, I listen to his podcast, and he's a great interviewer. I also listen to another podcast of an entrepreneur called James Sinclair, and you spoke about, and the reason I mention this because you said the word you need to innovate, and he has a term called, if you don't innovate, you evaporate. and that
Mm.
sticks with me every single day. And I think it's so true to everything that we do, not just in business but in our lives as well. I think we need to innovate, otherwise we are going to get left behind. We're in a world of digital transparency. Everything is online now, right? It's very different to when I first grew up. Anyway, I'm going to be 45, so I'm showing my age now. But very different to then. And I think we all have to learn to adapt and push ourselves out of our comfort zones and change to the way society is leading us down. And it is an online world at the moment, I'm afraid. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, great point. I think if we look at last couple of years, perhaps even beyond the last 3-4 years, in terms of and I'll refer to the tech industry because I guess that's probably where most of my examples and experience comes from. But I think we really have changed the rules. I think the pandemic, right, COVID, has forced us to really approach um, technology innovation in a completely different way. If you think about, I think, a much faster pace of change. So, for example, prior to the pandemic, we would work with our clients in delivering, I don't know, 2-3 year digital transformation programs. Now, or during the pandemic and post-pandemic, we can deliver some of these programs in 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And I think by doing that, we adapted so well to this unprecedented technological change. We developed this completely new ability to move so much quicker.
Mm.
We actually have set the bar really high now, and I think we have excited and engaged our clients like never before. By the way, so to your point, that innovation aspect for me links so strongly to really never standing still,
Yeah.
because of course it's really not an option, and it's something I keep saying to my team and keep saying to our clients. Ultimately, for us, it's a case of evolve or die.
Hmm.
As serious as it sounds, and I think for me, as a leader of a large team, as a technologist, it's really ultimately about that evolution, that continuous learning, and being curious, and being adaptable, being agile, moving fast. And I think when it comes to innovation, when it comes to speed of change, I think that the most practical lesson, I think we can now apply to ourselves, is to be creative, is to be curious, is to be bold,
Mm.
is to ultimately diversify your experience. And again, for me as a leader, I tend to spend more time now on strategy and leading teams rather than technology itself. But I've been fascinated by what experience management, and the whole kind of topic of XLAs has done to the support industry in terms of innovation, in terms of looking very differently at the service we provide, and the value of that service to the business, to our clients, to whatever industry they're in, and how experience, as one of the kind of biggest, I think, changes, and ultimately, that pivot from pure technology, right? I don't think our clients, when we go to meetings, are getting excited about tech from a perspective of, hey, this is a new piece of software or this is a new tool. It's about the value that tech delivers, and again, how does it contribute overall to that kind of innovation roadmap? Um, so yeah, we can. I don't want to go off tangent here, but I
Do you
think
know what I was just about to say? Yeah, I mean, you mentioned XLAs and obviously the
yeah,
value that tech delivers, and look, we will talk about that. We've gone off topic a little bit, and it always happens when we have guests on the show. So don't worry. I want to kind of finish up on your career history. We got you at Getronics. You're at Unisys now. Talk us about your journey after Getronics and how you got to Unisys and the steps you took to get there.
yeah. I moved from Unisys to a company called Computer Center,
Hmm.
which great move, great opportunity to again further develop my skills and lead most of the ITIL functions. So diversifying a little bit from just pure support into asset and configuration management, problem management, and multiple other disciplines. So it was a great journey. But also continuing with that really trajectory of client focus and support as well. And then I had an opportunity to move and work for an organization called Marsh McLennan. Very different world of financial management, very pressurized world of financial management, and stepping away ultimately from that kind of supplier managed service provider lens into the depth of insurance industry and technology supporting the insurance industry from within, right? So it's a very different model. I stayed there for 9 years actually in a global role, hugely fulfilling. Again, I actually changed a couple of times in terms of expanding the role responsibilities and ending up looking globally at our all of our remote support functions, which was an absolutely a fantastic journey and a real change and I would say repivot in terms of, like I said, coming from the world of outsourcing into being ultimately within that captive environment,
Hmm.
providing support to brokers, right? To insurance brokers and specialists, which is very different. Again, very different set of pressures. And then I did have the opportunity to join Unisys and again focus a lot more on I would say technology, digital workplace, and again develop completely a new set of skills when it comes to managing large teams. So my team currently is 6,000 individuals globally, largest team I led to date, and this within itself brings a whole new lens, a whole new look at leadership and particularly leadership of large global organizations like delivery within DWS at Unisys. So super privileged to have the I would say the stepping stones to lead me where I am today, and be able to have the privilege to stand in front of 6,000 people, and lead, like I said, delivery organization within this technology driven digital workplace, which is forever evolving every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You're going to make me really impressed if you answer yes to this. But do all 6,000 report directly into you?
No,
No,
sorry,
I had to throw it
not so
out there because
impressive after all.
I would have been very impressed. I
Mm.
wouldn't have known how you manage your time. But yes, out of the six, I mean, how does that break down though? That 6,000 into kind of like direct reports and then the filter beyond that.
Yeah. Of course, absolutely. Yeah, I wish there was, enough hours and minutes in a day to connect with all 6,000 on a oh gosh, I was going to say even monthly basis would be great, right?
Yeah.
So I'm super privileged to have a strong team of leaders. My leadership team constitutes number of senior directors and directors responsible for their respective service lines. They also have global responsibility as well. So really privileged to have leaders working with me and for me in terms of leading all the geographies and all the complexities around the globe. But of course, we come together as a team and really very cohesively look at the global landscape, global challenges, global path forward, global innovation roadmaps, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. 6,000 is a lot, but without doubt. And how many countries we're talking about globally?
Oh goodness. I would say 65 where we have direct presence, but also we have a really large partner network. So, in fact, I can't think of a country where we can't deliver support.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. I like it. I like it. Would you say this has been your biggest test and challenge, or has one of the other roles had a slightly harder challenge for you?
I would say this probably has been the largest test and challenge, although I'd like to say opportunity,
Hmm.
largest opportunity
Yeah.
today. Yeah, in terms of, like I said, not only combining the kind of, leadership skills and more strategic skill set, but also ultimately combining that love for technology and tech, enabling not only our clients, but tech, enabling my team. I'm a huge believer that ultimately the employee experience drives client experience. We spent a lot of time talking about the EX leading up to CX, and just how important it is to really focus on your team, your associates, as we call them at Unisys, who then ultimately can deliver these breakthroughs to our clients. So this has by far been the kind of biggest opportunity in my career so far.
Okay. Employee experience is crucial, right? And I don't hear personally, I don't hear enough about organisations doing more about it. So, what do Unisys do with their employee experience? How do you differ in that circumstance?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, for me, this really goes hand in hand in terms of delivering customer experience
Hmm.
and client experience per se. We we tend to drink our own champagne in terms of everything that we do for our clients. So whether it's developing, experience level agreements, whether it's again building those innovation roadmaps, we tend to start and do everything ourselves internally first, testing it, breaking it, making sure it works, making sure it delivers the value we envisage before we pass it to our clients. And I think for me, that heavily links to the employee experience, right? I can't imagine a situation where, you have this traditional model focused purely on, you know, uh, commercial agreements and delivering, service to a client without really getting the team to really understand the in and out of everything that we are doing from, sort of process tool technology standpoint. So for me, a huge part of driving EX, it's actually drinking on champagne, making sure that we roll up our sleeves, get that exposure to technology and to solutions we then offer to our clients. And I think that really drives that sense of belonging, that sort of sense of being part of something bigger. I think my team is genuinely excited when we bring new tool, because by the time we give it to our clients, we've already had an opportunity to test it and see what potential challenges we'll have, what where we can develop features, where we can do something different. So it's really bringing a team again. It goes back to bringing a team
Hmm.
on a journey
Yeah.
of delivering a service to our clients, through really having a practical approach in sort of bringing solutions, bringing tools, testing, embedding all of that internally first.
Okay. And that was a really good sum up, by the way. I was making lots of notes about it as you were talking. But does it differ in any way to the customer experience, or is it a similar process?
I actually think it's quite similar.
Yeah.
I do think that all of us outside of work, and regardless whether we're in the service industry or whether we're doing something different as a career, we are consumers of services. Every day, right? Every minute of every day, we consume a service. And I think, when it comes to providing, being on the other side of it and providing that customer experience, ultimately we have our own preconceptions and we have our own kind of views on what good looks like.
Hmm.
From my perspective, when I come to work, I expect my laptop to work. I expect my camera to work. I expect to have a good working headset. I am a customer of our internal Unisys IT team.
Hmm.
And I need technology. I need processes. I need tools to enable me to do a good job. And if I don't have that, I'll probably look elsewhere. So I think for me, just like we are enabling our clients to deliver their business goals, to grow their business, to reduce their attrition. I have exactly the same goal for my team. I want to ensure that I drive retention through enabling my team and providing them with everything that they need to succeed. So I think there is a real kind of like an equal sign. I would say there's EX equals CX,
Yeah.
and I would go even further, that drives that BX, that brand experience, right? So without that employee experience, you're not going to be able to provide great customer experience, and ultimately that will, have an impact on a brand. So that EX, CX, BX for me are intrinsically linked and super important. I think many organizations are not necessarily thinking about that enablement of their workforce to really be able to make a difference in terms of services they deliver.
Yeah, I really like what you just said there. EX plus CX equals BX. I think you summed it up really, really well, because it is all about your brand experience at the end of the day, especially if you're facing off to external clients, which you do, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's even more prevalent to ensure that you're delivering first class internal kind of like employee experience and customer experience that gives your brand the name it is and deserves to be. I want to just rewind a little bit. So we mentioned your role earlier on as like the global head, and what's really important for, I think, some of the listeners that we have who are maybe at the entry level type experience, for them, they want to hear about, oh, where can I get to, and then what's involved. So you mentioned quite strategic at the moment, your role. Just talk me through a little bit what's involved day to day. I know you touched on earlier on, talking about XLAs and value that tech delivers. Can you elaborate a little bit for the listeners?
Yeah, I think there's a few questions there, by the
Yeah,
way.
sorry.
No, not at all, not at all. I think let's start with perhaps some of that transition from perhaps being an entry level professional into a bigger career, and whether it's leadership footsteps, whether it's I don't know, um, a kind of client technology sort of officer footstep, whatever it might be. I think there's some aspects that are very very important to whatever journey you take onwards. But one of the things that I think is key for me is that curiosity.
Hmm.
One of the things, and it's not something you see every day. I think leaders coming into digital workspace now, displaying more and more of that kind of curiosity for not necessarily directly what they're involved in or what their subject matter expertise is in, but also really being um, passionate and curious about, I would say those, let's call them ancillary kind of opportunities and offshoots of technology. Um, and you can see that actually. I think, what we're looking for is a broad kind of skill set, a much more wide vision from individuals when we look at them in a prism of, are they ready for the next step? Are they ready to become more strategic and take on, whether it's a leadership or a managerial kind of step? So I would say that is, and I think I talked about being bold, being curious before, but really not limiting yourself to just that very narrow sort of scope that perhaps you might have been operating in your previous role, which of course, it makes sense. As we expand, as we progress, ultimately those opportunities and horizons become much larger. But it's kind of forcing yourself in the situation you're in to really think and look a little bit more prospectively. So that would be, my advice to everyone who's trying to kind of, build some sort of career path.
Hmm.
Is really look a lot more holistically across the area that you want to get engaged in. And then I think the second part of the question, I think, was around technology, right? And that whole transformation
Yeah.
around moving from, yeah. So it's interesting. I think again it goes back to, um, for me at least, moving away from that very transactional aspect of support and service to experience focus. aspect of service, and really re-pivoting to what's important actually, rather than perhaps just living in the parameters of SLAs and KPIs, right? And I love that analogy where leaders are talking about the watermelon effect,
Mhm.
where you've got a typical scenario, going to a monthly business review or quarterly business review, and you sit down and you produce beautiful PowerPoint presentations with lovely metrics and graphs, and everything is looking super green and amazing. And someone will say, "Nah, actually, I had a conversation with someone at the coffee machine yesterday, and they're saying it's rubbish." And you're kind of like, "Well, no, it can't be, right? It's so green, it's amazing." And it's really that watermelon effect of being green on the outside, but unfortunately red on the inside, where perhaps what we believe is that metric, or that measurement of what good looks like, is actually not necessarily what the perception and what the reality is right around the service. And I love this pivot from the industry standpoint, from, like I said, the kind of more rigid transactional parameters to kind of experience value focused parameters. I think, again, as leaders, as technologists, we really are now looking at getting a lot more excited about the so what next, as opposed to just looking at tools and processes in a kind of more traditional way. um, and yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I spent the last couple of years on developing our experience management office. That's a completely new function, didn't exist before then, but it's really a group of people who are uh, literally focusing on data-driven insights to drive recommendations for our clients in terms of where we believe they need to make changes and take decisions around anything from uh, end user experience through how they're spending, how the budgeting the projects, device refresh comes to mind, for example. So that experience management focus is completely different to what we used to focus on, and purely, like I said, purely sort of transactional, kind of aspect of service management, account management. So I love where we have come to in terms of the last couple of years, but I think that that path forward in terms of where we take XLAs next is super exciting.
I think it's really exciting, and
Mm,
I think I mentioned to you earlier on. I had Weston Morris, who also works at Unisys, on a podcast previously,
fantastic.
and he spoke very diligently about XLAs and utilizing data within XLAs, and it was a fantastic conversation. I think what was interesting, or what's more interesting, is that most organizations are still going down that transactional route, right? They're not
Hmm.
at this XLA model yet. Anyone that's listening doesn't know about XLAs. Where what's the starting point as for an organization, let's say like Unisys, and like how do you, and what's the journey you go on to get to where you are today to set up your XLAs?
Great question. Um, so I think probably starting with a kind of more foundational aspect in terms of not just meeting with the clients and saying, hey, here is the set of SLAs we're going to give you, and here's what we're going to do for you, but actually saying, um, what type of services do you need? Where should we be focusing on? And really focusing on what the client actually does. What are the business goals? What are they trying to accomplish as a business? And then mapping this to the key personas, the personas who are essential to the success of those goals, right? So I think as a managed service provider, sort of more traditional sense, we used to meet with our clients and say, this is the service catalog. This is the services we're going to deliver to you. Here is the kind of pricing mechanism, right? Whereas now we're saying, actually, for us to deliver value, we really have to understand what those business goals, those business objectives are, and we're going to build the service around that value, right?
Mm,
Making sure that we enable you to achieve them. And I think once we have that in place, we then identify how, again, our services can best support the achievement of those goals, and then form the XLAs relevant to that client. So do you know what? I'll give you an example because I think it's probably easier to illustrate it through a
Please.
through a powerful example. Yeah, one of our clients, quite a large healthcare organization in the US, they were going through a merger. Actually, it was two organizations coming together. We're talking 200,000 employees coming together from two disparate organizations with limited visibility of that kind of end-to-end experience related to things like software changes, or not perhaps understanding the kind of technology performance between divisions, or having multiple challenges with monitoring and managing end-to-end experience of remote employees, particularly as we are now in this kind of hybrid world, right, where we still really want to focus on experience parity. But cut the long story short, we partnered with them on this challenging journey of really coming together. We implemented device experience as a single source of kind of device performance truth. And we created a set of 7 XLAs at the time to measure and improve the experience parity as the IT systems were merging. And by doing this, we kept in mind that the prime directive, which is provide great patient care. They're not in the business of IT, right? Their focus
Mm.
was ultimately on healthcare and saving lives. So we focused our attention on that key persona, which is the frontline worker, the healthcare professionals who interact with patients.
Yeah, I like it.
We conducted this persona workshop, and we did a persona journey mapping to really understand how nurses and doctors and the emergency room staff are kind of working, what's important there. And just purely by focusing on the right persona and focusing on their experience, making sure that their device is working optimally, that a doctor is not waiting 5 minutes for an application to pop up, made all the difference. It was really a very deliberate, and also in many cases a very short time frame around some of these XLAs, which we set to deliver within the next 6 months. And actually, that's what I love about the XLAs. Not only the fact that it's looking at the right business goal, at the right persona, and all the kind of components of the service that are important to that persona, but also the fact that we can retire XLAs as soon as they serve their purpose. You can't do that with SLA framework right away, right? It's a lot more, within that commercial framework is a lot more difficult to do that. You would need a contract change note and a renegotiation, and with XLAs. What we do actually with all of our clients, we have something called the Experience Governance Board. And the Governance Board is looking at where are we today, what have we achieved, has that XLA delivered to what we said it would deliver, and actually, do we now need to retire that one and look at the next challenge? So if we have fixed, the boot up time for the nurses and doctors, and improved it from 3 minutes to seconds, then let's understand what the next priority is. So that's what I kind of love about the agility that this whole XLA experience framework provides us, and ultimately the value we can really quickly deliver to our clients.
Yeah, I love the case study, by the way. That actually hit home to me more than anything else.
Mm,
And those frontline workers, you spending time with them, understanding their needs. I mean, it's just adding a completely different level of value, right? And
absolutely.
you just touched on value there, and I think organisations want more value today. They do, and just having a transactional approach and having a typical SLA approach, get it fixed within X amount of time. I think we've moved on from that. I think and those organisations that are innovating, like Unisys with XLAs, are going to be at the top of the field, and leaving their competitors behind. So I take my hat off to you, and Unisys. You're obviously at the forefront, I think, of what's happening in the tech world, or in the experience world at the moment, should I say?
Thank you.
No, really good, really good. I wanted to look. I haven't done a podcast so far without talking about AI. So I'd like to touch on it, if you don't mind, and generative AI, and just find out your your thoughts on it and Unisys and utilizing generative AI within the workplace and where you're at with that today.
Yeah, absolutely, Steph. You had to avoid this topic, right? I think
Sorry.
it's a topic in all the boardrooms, across the industry, and all the CEOs, CIOs, and beyond, right? Are looking at AI investments and ultimately Gen AI developments. I mean, listen, it's exciting. I think it's exciting. I think on that theme of this unprecedented technological change and transformation, I think it's exciting to be part of it. I genuinely feel that this is the kind of the era to be in, because we can not only observe but also have a play part in what's happening. So from our perspective, we are very much embracing Gen AI with open arms. We've got a number of POCs in place today for a number of our clients, where we're looking at everything from knowledge management. I think if you look at use cases, and actually that's an interesting one. Every conversation with Gen AI is around, so what are the use cases that you're seeing, in the industry, and particularly in our industry, supporting our clients. I think for me that there's probably a dozen of really good, powerful use cases. But the one I love the most is the one that enables my team again. Again, being a leader of a large support organization, I looked at Gen AI thinking, okay, this is a great opportunity to streamline services and provide better value to our clients. But it's also a fantastic opportunity for us to again move away from this repetitive transactional world into a kind of a world driven by value, where ultimately my vision is to help my team to move away from again sort of that transaction approach to become knowledge workers, right? When you look at knowledge management and the way in which we ingest and curate knowledge, if you think about the role of a knowledge manager, someone who will get lots of files together, right? There'll be some sort of periodical review, there'll be a periodical update, there'll be pinging all the technical teams saying, hey, is this still valid? Is still the right fix, the right resolution? What we now do with help of Gen AI is not only create knowledge articles by pulling different data sources. So if you think about, your traditional knowledge base, that's still there. That's still probably got a play. But you've got your traditional knowledge base, you've got all the data from all the systems, whether it's ITSM systems, whether it's ERP systems. You then have all of the kind of what I called, contact center data, right, from the actual interactions with, the clients, the end users. When you think about merging all of those data sources together, how much more power there is behind a knowledge article, which is not just a technical team putting together a overview of a problem and resolution, but actually backing this up with the information coming from all of those systems, right, based on complexity and volume and frequency of these issues. So super excited when it comes to. I'll give you another great actually example where this really is making a difference for us. We onboard quite a few new clients.
Mm-hmm.
And when we onboard new clients, traditionally you would have a knowledge management effort spanning across 3 months during transition, doing very much a review of what's currently within the system, and then really, making sure that everything's up to date and ready for day one, right, for go live. Now we have actually shortened this time by 60-70%, where we're using Gen AI tools to not only merge the data, analyze the data, but actually already provide, a much more robust, curated knowledge, which is ready for ingestion, not only by the human, but also by our chatbots. So, for me, I'm really excited about where this technology enables our clients, but also enables my team to really, do much more juicy stuff, right? The actual
Yeah.
task to deliver value rather than these kind of more traditional repetitive things. So I'm super excited where this takes us. I'm super excited about the use cases we're working with our clients on. And from a selfish standpoint, as a parent, I'm also excited how Gen AI has really enabled us to do homework much quicker. I think this time 2 years ago, without ChatGPT, writing an essay was a bit of a painful experience, right? So
Oh,
yeah, as a technologist, I'm all in.
I mean, look, really good key takeaways. The knowledge management side, 100%. And look, I've got 3 students at home, my 3 boys. Yeah, 2 of them definitely use ChatGPT, but I always say to them, put it in your own words. Use it as a term, but
Absolutely.
put it in your own words. So completely get with that. Look, we are coming towards the end of the podcast, and there's still a few things I want to cover off with you. One of those
Of course.
is you are a D&I board member. Talk me through that a little bit and what's involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a pleasure of sitting on both our D&I council as well as lead our EMEA Women Plus cohort, which is fantastic. It's super rewarding. One of the things I'm passionate about is really not only bringing up these rising professionals, but also looking at the D&I aspect and try and repair, I think, what COVID inevitably did in terms of taking us back a little bit. I think if I look at our global workforce and particularly, in some cultures, in many cases, women particularly going back to focusing on things like childcare and elderly care. Um, it's just a little bit heartbreaking that we made all this progress and then unfortunately the pandemic brought us back. I'm passionate about um, really getting not only female representation in tech, but also female representation on more senior leadership level and hopefully board level as well. So how I approach it is again on more tangible level. I run quarterly sessions, actually, sometimes a little bit more frequently than quarterly, bi-monthly with our EMEA cohort on really building skill sets, really enabling these rising female professionals, in a space of communication skills, in a space of commercial management, in art of negotiation. We did a brilliant session not so long ago about the art of purposely dropping the ball, which got everyone's attention, and which was all around the art of delegation
Mhm.
and making sure that we as females tend to be so engaged in all the aspects of household work and like I said, childcare, elderly care, right? Looking at our parents, etc., etc. That we give ourselves the space to progress, that we actually create those deliberate sort of moments of where we can be a little bit more selfish focus on our careers, but it doesn't happen by itself, right? So really providing that cohort and those rising professionals with tools and techniques that I think just expand the toolbox in terms of how do I actually tangibly make it happen, right? How do I not only perhaps step into tech and step back into career, but also how do I then build that career? So for me, that passion is really twofold: making sure that we continue to drive that trajectory, to continue and build that representation of particularly females in tech. Super passionate about that topic, but also what tangible tools, techniques, and like I said, the expansion of that professional toolbox we equip these professionals with so they can succeed.
Yeah.
um, I think, yeah, that more tangible approach has really been met with great feedback from our cohort, actually. And there's nothing more powerful than someone pinging you on Teams and saying, "Hey, I applied for that job. I'm going for that promotion. Thank you. I'm super happy in terms of presenting to the board now. I'm comfortable in communicating to clients on a C level exec kind of level, right? So it's amazing to see that. So again, side passion, but equally being a mum of 2 girls, I feel like I don't just have responsibility to do that. I ultimately have accountability to make sure that we drive change.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, look, we need champions like you, right? To uh, bang the drum, as they say, in regards to D and I, women in technology, because there are I suppose we are still lacking women in technology, and there's still so much to do. And there's so many
Mm.
great initiatives out there that's happening. She Can Do, for example. There's a new one with I've had a couple of podcast guests, Lucy Grimwade and Sophie Hussey, have set up Women of ITSM.
Amazing.
Yes, and we just need more champions like that to go and do more. And I think it's great. And what we want to get to at the end of the day is that, not that we won't ever talk about women in tech. I think we always will, but I think it always goes back to, if you ask me, it goes back to education. And
Hmm.
if we can start it from there, that can make a big difference. Because sometimes I think women or young ladies think that it's all about just sitting and coding, but there's so much more to technology, and it's the
Mm.
communication part, the process side of things as well. So yes, thank you for what you were doing for DEI and women in technology.
Of course. Thank you.
You touched on your two daughters, and I always like to find out a little bit about my guests on a personal level. So tell me about day-to-day personal life, hobbies, interests, family.
Oh my goodness, where do I start? Crazy, crazy, crazy. So I have a 5-year-old and a 16-year-old. So is that pivot between Play-Doh and GCSEs, which is bizarre. GCSE. Hopefully this resonates with our international listeners. So these are the exams our youth is taking to be able to then go to colleges, etc. But it's interesting dynamics at home. Well, listen, they're absolutely my everything, and everything I do professionally and in terms of driving D&I topics is really focused on the future of my girls. Actually, I won't lie. Personal life is absolutely crazy and hectic. My work schedule sometimes does require me to travel, and does require me to work late. Like I said, I do have a blend of the kind of a little one and slightly older one who
Mhm.
is absolutely there and helping. But when talking about personal life, and I think how we ultimately have the two coexist, right? The career and the personal life. For me, it's interesting dynamics. I think pre-COVID, I had this vision of perfection. This perfect home, perfect kind of perfectly cooked dinner, and this perfect career and everything done to absolute perfection. Post COVID, I'm thinking it is actually okay not to be perfect. It is okay to, drop the ball. It is okay not to go to every single party. It's okay to just cuddle up on the sofa and have that kind of me time with the girls and steal 5 minutes between the calls. Or in fact, do calls whilst, walking with the little one. I think that post-COVID blend of kind of professional and personal is so great in so many ways. I don't shy away from having my little one playing behind me. So in the afternoon calls, my leadership team, my team often see her drawing and
I
playing,
like it.
and it's just so nice to be able to have that blend, as I said, and I kind of also feel, as a leader, that. uh, Again, I have a responsibility to perhaps, talk about the fact that it's okay to blend the two.
Yeah.
Who we are at home, who we are at work. We're not suddenly putting this different hat on, and it's kind of like, everything else stops existing, right? So it's so important to me, and I often hear from so many people saying, "Oh my God, how great to see you, at this level, really not being bothered or not being embarrassed by the fact that your little one is on your lap, or she's drawing behind you." And I was like,
Mm.
"Well, why would we be?" So I'm really grateful. Actually, there's a few things I think the pandemic has improved, right, in our lives, in terms of, we talked about digital transformation, agility, and speed of projects, but also that blend of professional and personal life. I personally love it, embrace it, and am no longer embarrassed or afraid of saying I am a mum, first and foremost.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that there were still people that were embarrassed by it, and you shouldn't be, right?
Mm,
I think we should just be open and honest about how we're feeling and how we want our lives to be. And if it means having your daughter behind you playing, and you still get to spend some time with her whilst you're working, why not? At the end of the day,
exactly.
as long as it doesn't have an impact on in your work, which I'm sure it doesn't, then you're fine. So
Don't
Look,
get me wrong. No senior client presentations,
okay,
like this, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
But look, we've come to the end now, and I did say to you before we went on the call that we would uh, we've got too much to talk about, and we won't be able to cover everything.
Mm,
We haven't, so I would love to have you on another time to carry on the topics of technology and some of the other things we didn't cover off today. If you're happy to come back on.
absolutely, of course, with pleasure.
Good. Before we finish off, then, any kind of like last comments or anything we didn't touch on that you'd like to bring up?
We touched on so many things: digital transformation, technology, XLAs, D&I, and ultimately the journey of becoming a leader. I think um, last kind of words of wisdom. It's interesting actually. I was talking to my daughter about this in the context of her taking the exams and planning, the kind of her next steps. And she said to me, she said, "But mom, why? What if it doesn't work out? Like what if it's not the right decision?" And I said to her, I said, "You know what? My golden rule, it's about always saying yes. It's really about opening your mind to what's possible,
Hmm.
and saying yes to opportunities when they present themselves. And if they don't present themselves, go out there and find them, but don't be afraid of failing, right? And I think we talked a lot today about advice to aspiring leaders, and I would say to those super talented rising professionals out there, don't wait, don't ask for permission. Go experiment, go take risks, go and be bold, because we should always be trying something new. And if it doesn't work out, well, we can repivot and we can always ask for forgiveness later. So there you go. That's my parting thought.
Don't be afraid of fear of failure, basically. Is that
Absolutely.
good? I like it. Listen, thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure having you on. I look forward to having you on in the future, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
No
Appreciate
problem.
the time.
Bye bye. Bye.
Thank you.